hey, there's that picture I was talking about. If it were me, Cole, what I would do,
Yeah, what would you
I,
do?
I think your middle grays there, you got nice blacks, you got nice whites. That middle gray of everything else is too darn gray. If it were me, I'd brighten that up.
John, if I were you, I would watch it because that puffin is trying to give you some fish
Ow!
right there. Trying to
Ow!
stick them in your ear.
Yeah, I'm
That's
just
the image we were talking about in our episode about bad light. This was shooting into the light, and it just did wonderful things, I thought. So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I'm jealous
You
of
know,
that. That was
we
fun.
were talking about in our last episode, if we do these in order, about how we're all different, and it keeps coming home to me that we're all different. How I like to work, how I like to learn, the types of images I like, and etc. And I think, wow, everybody should see it the way I see it.
Hmm.
If they're going to do long exposures, they should do it my way. If they're going to process black and white images, why have this complicated process? Do it my way. And I'm just constantly being reminded we all see differently, we all think differently, we all learn differently.
Yeah,
For example, learning. I can't stand to watch a YouTube video on some process. I'd rather see the steps listed out in
really.
words and then me do it. So,
Wow, I'm completely zombie. I love a YouTube video. I'll have that
really,
video on one screen and I'll have Lightroom or Photoshop on the other screen and I'll watch him do it or her.
oh my
And
gosh,
then, and
see,
then see,
we're just, everyone is so different. And that comes to the types of images we create. I like to think of myself as a fine art photographer, and I can't imagine why people would want to pursue just regular photography or color photography. Why don't they see the way I see? Because we're all different.
well, but
Uh,
doesn't this tie back to your whole concept about vision, Cole?
yeah, it does.
Yeah, because
But but
what you're asking people to do, in my opinion, and me too, is to honor their vision. And their vision, as you eloquently put in that beautiful slide that shows everything going into the funnel or into the blender, and then comes out with the cat with the colored glasses on, and that's your vision. That's just more proof that what you're talking about today, that you want people to accept and honor that their work should be different because I'm different from you, from Barry, from Jim, that and Roxanne, and all the people that we like to tease a little bit.
yeah, it just amazes me though, because I get into my own little world and I just think, why would anyone prefer a color image over a black and white? Or
Happy Meal, fine dining.
yes, or why would anyone have this complex post-processing procedure when you could have this very simple one like me?
Yeah.
Uh, you know, or why do people like IR color images with these blaring colors? Or there's so many things, and it's hard for me to remember that I'm probably the odd man out, and the rest of the world is probably more in the mainstream.
Oh, that's very true. You are odd. That's true. No,
Um,
it's important, and I like tying it into vision, honestly, because that's what we're trying to do is stop trying to be like everybody else. Is that sort of the subtle message that I'm hearing from you?
oh, I guess be yourself, right?
Yeah.
Everyone else is taken.
Oh, I like that. Oh, another one. Be yourself. Everybody else is taken. Another t-shirt.
The other day, I think I brought this up. Roxanne said to me, "Oh, to you, everything's black and white." And I thought, what a nice compliment, Roxanne. But I
Yeah.
guess everything isn't just black and white. There are a few shades of gray in there.
Never color for you though, except if
Yeah,
it's an iPhone shot you're
yeah,
sending back to home.
yeah. But just take that. Some people are like me; they just think black and white is it.
Yeah,
Other
absolutely.
people, color is just it.
Yep.
And what makes us so different?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, vision.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
so.
that's what makes us different is getting in touch with the fact that we bring to the act a creative act, and I don't care what that creative endeavor is, whether it's music or photography or knitting or crochet, whatever, right? If you're going to be creative in your life, it is based on you and your life that you've lived, which makes you unique and different.
So I see a lot of photographers that they like to follow a certain photographer,
Sure.
uh, David, or um, the
Sarah.
guy who
Oh,
writes for David Duchemin, but the guy who writes for Lenswork,
oh, Guy Tall.
Guy Tall. There's certain people they like to follow and like to follow their philosophy. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Does that uh, make us become little clones and followers, of that style and that way of thinking? Or is that how we think and see? And so we like to follow someone who has a like vision or a like outlook on life.
I'll have to noodle that, but my initial thought is I'm drawn to both Duchemin and Guy because it resonates with me and how I personally think predominantly about my work. And I have found that by reading their works, their books, that it has helped further or deepen my resolve to kind of operate. And to me, those two choices there are more about a philosophy of how we approach photography,
Mm,
which I think is less dangerous than I see a certain style of work.
mm.
Thus, I want to make all my images look like Mr.
Ansel
Brown
Adams.
or
Yes, yes,
Ansel
yes,
Adams, even better,
yes.
right? Now you're just an Ansel Adams knockoff rather than Ansel
Uh,
had a zone system. The zone system worked like this. Hey, I like that. That works for me. That's different, I think, than I want to make images that look like Ansel Adams.
that's a good point. Yeah.
So that's how I would respond to that. Yeah. Now, so what does that mean? You go out and buy people's books of monograph books where it's just imagery, and then you fall in love. Then the danger is doing what you did with those three crosses, the poles. And for 2 months, that's all you photographed was those poles because you were so blown away by that image. You bought it, you put it in your room. Now you've kind of lost your way with regard to following and honoring your vision again. So is that a danger, getting these photo books and falling in love with a certain style of photograph? And then do you find yourself, I'm going to go do small scenes. I'm going to
Yes,
go do grand
yes,
landscapes. I'm going to go do
yes.
oversaturated color.
And we
I don't
go
know.
through those phases and you wonder, when do you break out and say, what do I love and what is original within me, not just imitative of others? Yeah, when does that occur and why does it occur?
And you,
That's a
and
fascinating question.
is that hard? I know my answer. I think it's really hard I remember, and here's a quick story. I remember going to South Africa to be with Freeman Patterson. With me was Farrell McCullough, really, really smart guy, entrepreneurial guy. And he said to me, John, I'm tired of watching you look through everybody else's viewfinder on every trip we go on. This is before I was teaching. This was when I was learning, and I didn't start my business until 2007. So this is 2004. And I said, what do you mean? He says, well, but John, all of the images you have aren't yours. It's because you have to go look. You're good enough, John. Stop looking through. And she says, look, I'm going to challenge you on this 17-day trip to South Africa. You're not allowed to look through anybody else's viewfinder. I looked at Farrell and I said, you're crazy. I'm spending X amount of thousands of dollars. I've only got this much film. There's no digital. There's no way. The only way I can get good photographs is if I look through your viewfinder and Nancy's and everybody else's. Then I'll know that oh, that's a good picture. I'll do that. Well, guess what? I took him up on that challenge.
Wow.
It was scary because what he was asking me to do was believe that I really did have a vision, that I really could make a good photograph without looking at anybody else's
He was
viewfinder.
asking you to see for yourself.
Exactly right. And then what he said when I did that and we shared afterwards or whatever, it was a month later when we got film developed and everything, he said, how good does it feel to know that every image that you just showed me is yours,
Yours.
totally yours, not influenced by
Versus
anybody else's view, but it was hard.
versus those two sisters who went on that tour, and the leader told them where to put the tripod, where to point the camera, what lens to use, how to compose it,
Yeah.
and would get upset if they varied the shot to make it theirs.
Literally upset, they told us. Remember
Yes.
that? We were dumbfounded, like yelled at them.
And so would you want to come home with an image that wasn't yours yet would impress other people?
Yeah.
I would be more inclined to create my own failures than to create someone else's successes.
Yeah, this gets back to the only person that matters is when I see that image on my screen that I'm going to get ready to share on Instagram. Do I love it? Would I put it on my wall?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
That's kind of your critique or criteria rather. And I think that's and what I'm saying by that story in South Africa is that's hard though, right? We
yeah.
can't discount how hard it is to have the confidence, the self-confidence to truly be able to let go of judgment of others. What will they think? We got to let go of the fact that we might, like that peekaboo church and 3 episodes ago that you said, hey, that might be the second one. Just for yucks, Instagram's response to that was terrible. Instagram's response to another one was 3 times that. So just for this long, I had to go, you idiots, what are you
So
thinking? That's a
what
great
do you
photograph.
do now? What lesson do you take from that? You've posted your calendar shot. It got a lot of likes. You've
Yeah.
created one that you love and it doesn't get a lot of likes. That's the real question for most people. What do you do now? Do you
Yeah.
continue to produce the calendar shots that get the likes? Or do you continue to produce what you love, even if it means fewer likes? Yeah,
I
good question.
still, it's still one of my favorite images, period.
That's why I like your workshops. I guess you don't call them a workshop, you call them a
Tour.
tour,
Yep.
because it's not built on this premise that people want to come home with these great shots, even if it means you telling them where to stand and how to see and when to click the shutter,
Yeah.
ensuring that they'll come home with some impressive images, but allows them and encourages them to find their own vision
Yeah.
and to shoot their own shots. And
That's
we
good.
see that. We see some people who are doing their own thing.
Yep.
Sometimes we see people who want direction. What are you seeing? Where should I put my camera? How should I compose this? And, instead of telling them what to do, we ask questions. What is it here that you love? How do you like it? We try to get them to analyze and think for themselves.
And I love that too. To me, that's what differentiates my offerings from maybe someone else's. We are certainly conversant in technical skills, and we can have those discussions about long exposure or whatever it is from a technical standpoint. But you and I are committed more than anything else on these tours and offerings to help people go home thinking for themselves, evaluating their skills for themselves, evaluating compositions for themselves. And so we're constantly saying, we're not saying you should, rarely ever, except should follow that new rule that you've now taught me about. But for long exposures, so seriously, I got to go look to see if my images are breaking down because of not following that rules. But anyways,
Well, I've
back
had a
on.
couple of people sending me images from the photo tour, our
Yeah,
Faroe
yeah,
Islands photo tour, and asking me what I think. And I always respond in the same way. Answer these questions, and I have them analyze the image themselves. And I hope that it helps them to see for themselves and to, I guess, find their vision
yeah.
by analyzing their image and why they shot it that way and what is strong, what is weak, and what can they do about it. And I hope that approach has helped. It's made them less dependent on the opinion of experts, if you will,
Sure.
and more reliant on their own opinion.
Yeah. Good
Well,
stuff
good.
today. That was a good discussion. I appreciate that, Cole. That's the stuff I think that we do best in having conversations about. It is just that, trying to get people to have the courage, because it does take some courage to learn what your vision is and then honor that. It's
Yeah.
not always easy.
And before we go, John, on this image, what would you do with it? What would you, if you were to
I'd
tell me?
remove you from it, that's for sure. All right, bud. See ya.
Okay, see ya.